You're listening to the Happening Next Door podcast with your host, Nosy Neighbor.
My guest today is a beautiful woman. Her name is Megan. She's in her 30s and from Kentucky. She was married at a young age and found herself going through some sexual frustration where her sex drive had just gone kaput. And the way they discovered to find it again was through swinging. So, Megan, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, you found yourself in a lull, and your sex drive, you said, had pretty much gone away. Whose idea was it to bring up swinging?
Actually, it was both of our idea. He was sexually frustrated. I was frustrated at his sexual frustration. And I was pretty much like, look, like, I'm fine with you finding some girl to hook up with if that's all you're wanting.
And what was that like? I mean, was that a hard decision for you that you realized that you just weren't giving what he needed and to hand it over to, or to offer to hand it over to someone else?
Not really, just because I was so not into sex at the time that I was like, if this is what's going to make him happy, then let him do that. But that's not what he was really wanting. He was wanting to have sex with me, and he was wanting me to be into it and like want to do it. But he was working out of town. I had two kids at home. I was basically a single mom during the week, and it was hard.
And so you decided to explore swinging. What was the process like of finding that first couple?
So my husband actually got on the Kick app, and he was able to find a lot of people and couples on there. And he would start, just showing off my pictures. And I got a lot of positive feedback on that. And that kind of made me feel better about myself and gave me a little bit more of, some self confidence. Like, okay, maybe I don't look as bad as I thought that I did, because I mean, he would tell me all the time how hot I was, how beautiful I was, but it's different to hear it from other people that don't have to tell you those things, if that makes sense.
And she's a lovely woman, beautiful face, beautiful. I mean, if you're a breast lover, she is the gal for you. So you start talking to couples. Talking and doing something with another couple is a big step. What was that like as far as that went?
So it was a little bit of a process, just trying to find people that we were both interested in. It can be challenging to find that, but it's possible.
And so you found a couple, you start talking to them. How long were you talking online or on the phone before actually getting together, at a bar or restaurant to meet?
So we would usually talk. It would really just kind of depends on everybody's schedules. I mean, we could talk for a few days, and then if everybody was free on the weekend, we could meet for dinner and drinks and go from there if, the vibe was good with everybody. Sometimes it would take longer, and we would talk for like a month. There's been people that I've chatted with for years and never actually have met them just because it's never worked out.
And so you finally decide to go for it. You either go back to their place or you go to a hotel, you're getting undressed and you're about to take, this new guy's cock in your mouth. Is there any kind of like, what the hell am I doing? What was that first time where your husband is probably nearby and you're, playing with this other guy? What was that kind of emotion, or was it just caught up in the motion and enjoying it?
Yeah, like it was always enjoyable. Especially the first few times, it was a little bit nerve-wracking just because, you don't want to do something to upset your spouse or to make the other couple, upset about anything. So it's just really making sure that everybody is on the same page with what they want to happen. But I mean, it's even with the nerves, it's always a fun time.
And how much talk did you have with your husband as far as guidelines, rules, things that might make, either party, uncomfortable? Was there anything that you said, was off limits? Like, with kissing, some couples find kissing to be more intimate than sexual, so they prohibit it. How did you guys lay out your ground rules?
So we would have very lengthy talks about, our boundaries and, what we wanted to do. We were both on the same page with kissing. Kissing to us, we don't find that as intimate. That's just kind of like foreplay for us personally. So that wasn't ever a big deal, but we knew that there was a lot of couples that, they don't do that. So we just have to make sure that we're we know what their rules are and to make sure that we don't cross their rules because, you don't ever want to do that for sure.
And I think one of the things that's important to point out is that you absolutely love your husband. Your husband is a good man, good father. This wasn't that you're replacing him. This was something that you both felt really added to the relationship.
Right. Yes.
To someone that might not understand that, can you explain a little bit more of how that works, how sleeping with someone else improves your marriage?
Really, for us, it just adds a little bit of extra spice. I've been with my husband since I was 19 years old. I'm in my mid 30s now. So, I mean, that's a long time to be with just one person. And that's fine for some people to just be without one person. But I think to keep things kind of spicy, it's fun to include others in the bedroom just to keep it fun.
And you said, you've been married since a young age. You're a mom of two. It seems like for a while there's a lot of self doubt that you would put on yourself. This really helped open your eyes, it seemed, to feel attractive, to feel wanted by other people. And what was that like getting that sex drive back? I mean, I'm guessing it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it took some time to get there, but it definitely helped. Just, every day, either I would post pictures on Kick or he would post pictures and just getting all of the positive feedback. It sounds like I'm such an attention whore. I'm really not. But but it's just that was a boost for me because I was home with two kids all the time, never wore makeup, never looked cute, I didn't put a lot of care into myself. So I was like, well, nobody's going to want me. But then I was like, okay, just put a little bit of effort and you'll feel better.
Did you have a sexual awakening that was even deeper than what you had before when you had the sex drive? Was there new kinks or fetishes that you discovered about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. So I found out that I like being choked. I like spankings. I like bondage. I didn't know any of that about myself until we kind of got into the lifestyle a little bit.
You were showing off pictures. Why wasn't that enough? Some might ask. Why did it have to go from showing off pictures and being flirty to actually having sex with other people?
I think it was because that's what my husband and I both kind of wanted. Because I had talked about before we ever got into the lifestyle about, bringing in another girl and, you know, because I am bi, so I like the ladies too. That's always something that we wanted to do. We just didn't really know how to go about it.
When you're with these couples, is the sex pretty much like you would with your husband? Is it similar, or is there some creativity that goes in with the other people that you're doing it with?
So it's basically, for the most part, it's the same as when it's just me and my husband. But I mean, it just kind of depends. There's some couples that are even kinkier than we are, and they'll, bring in stuff that we never would have thought about and ask if we're okay with it. And we're like, yeah, sure, let's try that. You don't know what you like until you try. So that's kind of always been my mindset.
And when you're talking to a couple, how much of it is arranged or how much of it is pre-planned? Like, if I'm married and I'm talking to you as a couple, my wife might want to fuck your husband. I'm just looking forward to playing with those breasts. Is there a negotiation process of like, we don't have to have sex, but I want access to those gorgeous breasts and play with those and get you off while my wife fucks your husband? Is there that kind of negotiation, or is it you and the husband get together and just kind of go with the flow, and what happens as long as it's within the boundaries that you laid out?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is for us. We're very easygoing, go with the flow, whatever happens, happens. I never go into anything thinking, well, this is what's going to happen, because then that sets up for like disappointment or something like that. So, yeah, just kind of go with the flow and just see what happens.
Is there any kind of, and we kind of talked about this before, but you're about to take on a relative stranger's cock. Is there anything going through your mind? Is it pure enjoyment? Is there the same kind of arousal that you would get with your husband? Is this more of a living out a fantasy? How do you, because it's not love and it's
Right.
not, passion or anything like that. How does your brain kind of process it, or how do you view it as?
Yeah, so it's definitely not love or anything like that. It's just fun to have another guy's cock in my mouth, Like it's just fun.
When you're doing this, when you're searching for a couple, are there fantasies that get involved in this? Like I could see wanting to find a younger man for my wife because I think it'd be fun to see her with this a young kid that doesn't know what he's doing and being able to have a busty, beautiful woman, with this relatively kid, or someone that's older that gets a younger wife that he gets to play with. Are there role play fantasies that get involved when you're looking for a couple, or is it mostly about that connection of getting to know them outside the bedroom?
So for us, it's mostly just trying to find a connection. For me personally, I don't really go for the younger guys. Like that's not something I've ever really even considered because I've always been attracted to older. Like my husband is 9 years older than me. So I've always had like go older, not younger.
See, that surprises me because you enjoy the attention, and I could just see younger guys just wanting to please you and stuff like that would just feel that attention. So I'm surprised at that. But so you like older. Is there an age range where you would cut it off, or as long as you felt a connection outside of the bedroom, you're open to it?
So for me, I've always said, anybody younger than 25, I don't think I'm going to be able to have like a conversation with. And that's what I kind of like. I like making friends and not just fuck. My husband, he's a little bit on the opposite side and he's just like, well, this couple, they're younger, but they seem like they'd be cool to hang out with. And I'm just like, maybe, like I'm not going to say no, but I don't know. I find that kind of harder to relate to them.
And so you're meeting a couple for the first time, and you go to a hotel room. There's two beds, and so your husband and the wife sit on one bed, and the guy and you are sitting on the other bed. Who makes the first move? What is that like the first time? Is it an awkward kind of first date, or is it just you're both experienced swingers? You know what you want, you know what you're there for, so let's just jump into it.
I mean, there's always the potential for things to be awkward. It just kind of depends. I'm not one to usually make the first move. I always let the either my husband or the other guy make the first move and then just kind of go from there.
And are you always completely separate, like your husband with the wife, you with the husband, or is there some commingling foursome going on?
Yeah, sometimes we'll, even if there's two beds, we'll all end up on one bed at some point sometimes. And that's pretty hot too. It just kind of depends on what's going on.
And are there friends or people that are close to you that are aware of what you do, and how is their reaction to this been?
So we try to keep what we do a little bit more on the down low. I do have family that's in the lifestyle too, so like that can make it things a little bit awkward. Some of my friends know, some of my husband's friends know, but it's not something that we really advertise about ourselves.
Can people find you on any sites where you said that you enjoy showing off your pictures? Are there any sites like FetLife or any kind of swingers groups that you're on that people can find you on?
So I'm not actually on any of those sites, but my husband has accounts on FET and on SCC, Swinger Zone Chat or something like that. He has pictures and stuff like that on there. I basically keep mine like on Facebook groups. There's lifestyle Facebook groups everywhere, and like that's where I post stuff, but it's not like advertised on my Facebook, if that makes sense.
You said a little bit, but what is it like having a husband that enjoys showing off his wife in nude photos? Is there anything? I mean, what kind of photos are we talking about that you're posing for?
I mean, all kinds. He'll show pussy, ass, boobs, the whole thing, just just whatever.
And what has this done for your own self conscious? I mean, you said that you had some self conscious doubts. Is that for the most part gone? That you're able to now embrace your body, to embrace your beauty?
I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm not completely happy with the way that I look, but I don't think any woman truly is. But I definitely do feel a lot more confident about myself.
Porn plays a big part in how we learn about sex for a lot of people. It's the way that you kind of self educate yourself. How do you think porn has influenced the way that swinging has done? Like so much of porn is dirty talk, it's rough talk, it's you know slutty talk. Is that something that you're receptive to? Is that something that's a turnoff? How do you like to be treated when a man is talking to you, trying to express interest in getting with you and your husband?
Oh, I love the dirty talk. That turns me on a lot.
Is that okay to approach you right off the bat if someone guy says, "Wow, you look like a beautiful slut"? I mean, is that over the top for a first introduction? Is that something that you do find arousing?
So that kind of depends on my mood of the day. If like that was somebody's very first like introduction to talking to me, I might find that hot. I might find that like, I don't think I would even want to talk to you. So it really just kind of depends on my mood and how I'm feeling.
And emotions are tough for a lot of people. Emotions get involved when we don't intend them to. Emotions have a funny way of popping up in certain circumstances. Have you ever found where your own emotions got involved or someone that you met started feeling emotions for you? And how do you keep those in check?
Like that can be very tricky sometimes. I try not to get too emotionally attached to anybody or let my emotions get too involved. Sometimes guys will be a little bit like assertive and like, I really want to meet you. And I'm like, look, dude, I don't meet anybody without my husband. Like, you're trying to cross lines that I don't want to cross. So, like, that can kind of cause some tension sometimes.
And are most men receptive to that? Are most men respectful? And because it seems like it's easy in a lot of these circumstances for the husband to kind of be second fiddle, where, you know, I'm going for you. She has great breasts. I want a chance with her. Her husband's not my concern. How is it making sure that your husband does feel like he's a part of this, even if there is a wife that he gets to play with?
Yeah. So, like, that's another thing that can be tricky because I never want him to feel like he's second. He's always my number one priority. But some guys, they don't think that way. And so, like, if they're making him feel a certain way, then I'll just block them, and just move on because ain't nobody got time for that.
And what are some of the maybe micro red flags that you have found that cause you to just pass on someone. I mean, there's the giant glaring ones, how they treat you and how they talk to you, or how they treat your husband. But what are some of the subtle things that you look for to determine whether a couple is a good fit or not?
So if a guy is just all he's doing is sending me dick pics and not trying to even have a conversation with me, they're out. Like I don't do that. Sometimes I'm not always observant to the red flags until they're like glaring at me. But yeah, like that's pretty much the main thing. Like if you can't have a conversation with me and you're just sending me dick pics, then I'm not messing with it.
So kissing is okay. You don't feel that it is emotional. What about coming? Where do you like the guy to come? What's the attitude towards that?
So this probably sounds bad, but I mean they can come wherever. It doesn't matter to me. Or I mean, don't get it in my eyes or my hair, but anywhere else, like I'm fine.
And why not the hair?
It's just messy.
Yeah, but you can shower afterwards. You can.
Well, yeah, and if it was in my hair, like it's not going to be like the worst thing in the world, but it's just that's not really what I would prefer.
I always kind of find it funny where a couple could, go down on each other and have no problem, but the idea of sharing a toothbrush is gross. Or, she can suck him off and he can come inside her, but the idea of getting in her hair is just messy and gross. And so I always find it kind of funny that, like, that's where you draw the line. You just had his cock in your pussy, but getting a little cum in your hair is just, oh, it's messy and gross.
Yeah. Well, it's a hassle, like then you have to shower and, it's a whole thing.
When you're meeting people, ideally, like in a relationship, you always want to find Mr. Right and be happily ever after. When it comes to swinging, is there a couple that's Mr. and Mrs. Right, or is it the act of finding various couples that is enticing to you? Could you settle on another couple where you have something long term and you're completely happy and don't need anyone else? That, three or four, combined is enough, or is it about constantly finding something different and exploring those avenues?
So when we first got into the lifestyle, and one of the very first couples that we met up with, they were wonderful. And we really just clicked with them like right away. And we started spending, every weekend with them. During the summer, we pretty much moved in with them. They live a couple of hours from us, hour and a half or so. So they weren't like super close, but we made it work. And it was so fun and so great. We kind of just, they had kids, we had kids, we kind of just had like a blended family. And that lasted a little over a year. But then they started having issues in their marriage. And then I was like, okay, well, if they're having issues, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to feel like we're coming between them. So we kind of just slowly quit coming over, and now we don't really talk to them anymore, unfortunately. But after that, we've kind of realized that we don't really want to get that close to just one specific couple again, especially with kids. I mean, they're older, they know what's going on now. At the time, they didn't. But we do have some very good friends that we like to try to see, and they live in Clarksville, so a little bit further from us, but they're like some of our dearest friends, and we try to see them as much as we can, but it's not as intimate as it was with that couple, if that makes sense.
And when you're looking for a couple, are you looking for people that mirror you and your husband, or are you looking for diversity in as far as, I already have the steak with my husband, so now I want to go out and find a cheeseburger. I want to go out and find a hot dog. I mean, do you try to look for things that appeal to you with your husband, or is it looking for things that are unique and different and trying something new?
So we're always up for trying new things, but we do kind of like to stick with people that kind of have like the same kinks that we're into. And if they might be even spicier than we are, and kind of include some of that with what we do with them,
And as you find this discovery and finding yourself appreciating your body more, have you given more thought? I mean, your husband's posting pictures of you. Have you given more thought to doing something like an OnlyFans?
Oh, I would love to do OnlyFans. My only problem is I don't have the setup to do it. So if I had that, then absolutely.
And what's the setup that you feel like you need?
Well, for one thing, I need internet. I don't have any internet out here, so like that's the main thing. I want better lighting and, stuff like that.
When you're posing and you're posing for other men, is it the recognition? Is it the idea of them getting off to you? What is it that kind of fuels your appetite? What do you appreciate knowing that they're doing?
Like I find it pretty hot when they're like, I'm jerking off to you right now in your pictures, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like have fun with that.
I mean, you said the OnlyFans. Have you thought about camming or live chatting with other people that aren't in your area? How if someone comes across you from out of state, is that just too much hassle to deal with, or do you enjoy cybering?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would totally be open to doing that too. Of course, I'd have to see how my husband would feel about that, but yeah, I mean, I think that could be fun.
And for the most part, you're meeting with other couples. Have you met with groups of men, or kind of a lopsided grouping where maybe your husband watches, or it's a couple of men for you? Is it mostly just couple swapping?
So we pretty much just do couples. There's been times where we've gone to like a lifestyle club and we ended up in a room and it was me and my husband, and then all of a sudden a bunch of guys come in, and that's happened before. But my husband really didn't like that, so I don't try to ever let that happen.
Let's say you're with a couple, it's a house party or something like that. 5 minutes, you guys just met, you have 5 minutes. What's the way to win your affection or heart, or what would you have that guy do if you had just a short period of time?
Honestly, if you just like grabbed me by the hair and started choking me and making out with me, like that would get me instantly.
Really? So not even sexual, it's just the physical contact.
Yes.
And was that something that you have known? I mean, you said you discovered some of that through swinging. What was that like, realizing that you like that kind of stuff, and what is it about that turns you on?
So I really don't know like what it is why it gets me the way that it does, but it does. My husband, he would do that a little bit with me before we ever started swinging, but then I guess maybe seeing other people do stuff like that, he was like, "Well, that's okay to do," like, and it turns me on. So I'm like, "Yeah, please continue to do that."
What turns you on about other men? Like, what do you enjoy watching them do? What do you enjoy having them do to you? What are your little turn-ons?
Well, that's a good question. I I don't know.
Like, would you rather masturbate in front of someone or watch them masturbate in front of you?
But I would probably rather be the one masturbating and having them watch than just me watch them masturbate. Like, I think that would be awkward.
And when you masturbate, are you using toys? Are you using fingers? What is your go-to masturbatory?
Um, so usually just my fingers. I do have toys, but I don't really use them.
And what toys do you have?
I mean, I have vibrators, nothing like super fancy.
Nothing super fancy. And how often do you masturbate?
Not that often.
And how often, ideally, I mean, you have the kids, you have a life, you have the marriage. How often are you meeting with other couples? How often would you prefer to meet with other couples?
So it really just depends on, like I said, everybody's schedules on when we can meet couples. I would ideally like to meet couples at least once a month, you know, but sometimes it's, a few months. We've gone, over a year without doing anything in the lifestyle just because we had the kids and just didn't have the time.
How do you weed out prospective couples from, maybe the guy just wants pictures of your tits and isn't really planning on meeting you guys? How do you weed out those that just want to see or have that exotic talk with you versus couples that are serious about meeting?
So we tell couples all the time off the bat, it takes patience and planning for us. Like we are worth it. We're worth the wait. But sometimes we can't just do it whenever, you all want to. So yeah.
But how do you weed out those that are their intentions are just wanting to see those breasts of yours or just wanting to have that exotic talk with you and probably aren't too serious about meeting?
Yeah, and that's totally fine too. I mean, there's guys that I've talked to for years that all they've done is just seen my tits and they're happy with that. And of course they do want to meet up, but they're single guys and that's not what we're really looking for. So I always tell them, well, if our dynamic changes, I'll let you know. But like I don't care to like show them my tit pics or whatever, and like just lead them on for a little bit, I guess.
So what you're saying is I don't need to plan any trips to Kentucky anytime soon
Right.
as a single guy.
Yeah.
So what is it like watching your husband fucking another woman? I mean,
Oh,
you're
I think
enjoying what you're doing, but there still has to be a mental, realization that that's your husband.
right. And at first that was a little bit like, oh my gosh, am I really okay with this? But then I was like, yeah, I am okay with it. Like it's hot watching him make another girl come and having her enjoy him like I do. Sharing is caring.
Does jealousy ever play a part in that? You had a resurgence where you discovered that not only your husband thought you were beautiful, but other men have thought you were beautiful as well. Is that kind of overcompensated then for any kind of jealousy where you're like, I know where my husband, you know, his commitment lies. This isn't personal or this isn't romantic. It's just pure pleasure. How much though does jealousy play a part in that?
Yeah. I mean, there's always that potential for jealousy all the time. I try really hard not to ever get jealous and just to enjoy what I'm watching. Sometimes I feel like he might get a little bit jealous when guys are just continuously like hitting me up, and I feel bad because it seems like women in the lifestyle get a lot more attention than guys do.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel bad for him because he's a very very good looking guy and he knows what he's doing, and any girl would be lucky to enjoy him fucking her. And he'll post pictures, and just guys don't get the love that the women do.
No, I would agree to that. It's the women are the ones that kind of control everything. When you're doing your search, and this might sound shallow or whatnot, but if you had a woman that had no kids, was in her 20s, the Barbie looking girl, would you strike that down because that might be, too good looking for? I mean, is there kind of a balance when you're looking for couples that you don't want Barbie and Ken, or does not really play a part in things?
No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, and I've told, and it does sound shallow, but I mean, I've told my husband like she's too pretty. I don't, or they're too pretty. Like I just I wouldn't be comfortable, and I would rather find people that are more on, I guess, our level, if that makes sense.
And I mean, even if they're interested, even if the guy is, oh, I'm very interested in you. It's just a matter of self consciousness kind of plays in or seeps in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like I've said before, I don't really want people in their 20s. My husband, he's okay with it, but I'm not as much. So
I just think
that
you'd
kind of
be
plays a part
absolutely
too.
worshipped by younger men. I mean, just younger men
Yeah,
would
but do
be.
they know what they're doing though? Like, I don't want to have to talk a guy on what to do. Like, I want somebody that knows what they're doing.
See, that would be a fantasy of mine. I would love to be part of a couple that finds, because like I think back, and I don't know how you were, but when I was young, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so I would love to find like a younger woman and show her how to demand, a guy go down on her, and show her how to do it right, and show her, from experience and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
to help, I mean, I think that would be a fun fantasy, is to show her that, because the guys that, some 18, 19, 20-year old is with, the guy doesn't know what he's doing. And to have her have then expectations of, here's how a guy should treat you, here's how a guy should fuck you, here's how a guy should go down on you. I think to be able to be that kind of mentoring that younger person, that would be a fun fantasy in my mind. And I could see a lot of young men looking at you going, wow, that being my first time right there, I love that. And that would teach me so much. So that way, when he does find other women, he knows what he's doing, and he learned that experience from you. I just find that would be hot.
I mean, yeah, I can see the potential for it to be hot too. I've never gone for like the younger guys though.
Yeah, but you love the attention too, though.
Well,
And they
yeah,
would give
that's
you a
true.
lot
Yeah,
of attention.
like I'm not
They
trying to discriminate.
they would be little puppy dogs to you, and I think that would be fun though, to be able to train a younger person into how to please someone and show them. Are there fantasies that are left for you? Then, is there stuff on your bucket list? Like, what are some of the things that you would like to find in a couple, or try with a couple, or to experience?
I don't know. Like I really don't really have a bucket list, so to say. I just like having fun and just seeing what happens with other couples.
What size are your breasts?
Take it hard, 36G.
And they are gorgeous. And the nipples, guys, if you can see the nipples, they are amazing. Do you like those? I mean, do you like the attention that those give you, or is it kind of just the overrated? I'd rather just fuck.
No, I definitely love the attention.
I love your type of breasts. They're the kind that kind of have that little hang to them, and just the idea of her being on top and those things just dangling down, or just I I need to get married just so I can go out to Kentucky. Apparently, what advice would you give to couples that? I mean, there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of embarrassment. Although I think a lot of that has changed with COVID. Are you finding that swinging has changed with COVID? Because I think a lot more people self-discovered their sexuality being locked up so much that we started kind of internalizing things, and things like OnlyFans really took off with regular women. You find, what would you advice would you give to a couple that is curious about it but really has no place to start?
So there's all kinds, like there's FET, there's SZC, there's all kinds of lifestyle Facebook groups. Like you can research and you can find those people that you're looking for. But like my biggest advice for them is just, for one thing, communication. Make sure that you both are on the same page on everything. Make sure you know what each other's boundaries are, your limits, all of that stuff. And also, you got to make sure that you know that you can't unsee what you've seen. So make sure that you're prepared for that. I think that's a big thing too.
Explain that a little bit more.
So, like, especially, I remember one of our very first times that we had a swinging experience, and that's some advice that the other couple told us. He was like, you can't unsee what you see. So, take things super slow. make sure everybody's still comfortable, because you can't unsee your husband fucking another girl beside you. And if you're feeling some sort of way about it, you got to communicate that. Maybe not right at the moment, but like make sure, that everybody's okay with what's going on, I guess.
And is this something that you see going on for as long as you are married and can perform? Is this something that's a phase that you see yourself going through as a couple? How do you view swinging as? Is it a lifestyle? Is it a thing that's incorporated into your life? How is it?
It's definitely a lifestyle. I don't see us ever really stopping swinging. It's something that we both really enjoy, and I think it brings us closer together, which I know sounds weird because like you're bringing in other people, but it makes us appreciate each other more. I feel like because I know it gets my husband off. I know what I can do to please him. And sometimes when you're with other couples, it takes more work to figure out what they like. Not everybody is a good sexual performer either. So I really appreciate that my husband is as good as he is. And it's just, it just keeps things spicy for us.
And I mean, you kind of mentioned it there. If someone is a little bit worried about performing, they're interested. The wife wants to fuck your husband, but the guy is like, I have a tough time, performing. Is that a deal breaker if they have sex and you two just play along? Is it, is that something that you're open to, or do you want them to perform as well?
I mean, of course I would always prefer them to perform, but if they're having trouble, that's totally fine. Like I'll suck your dick, you know, um, foreplay, all of that stuff. Or if it's just not happening, I'm just fine letting my husband and the other guy's wife fuck and me and him just sit on the other bed and have a conversation.
What's
And
the
that's happened a couple of times too.
what's the biggest surprise that you've discovered about yourself in participating in swinging?
I guess it's just like what I've found out that I really like that I didn't know that I would.
And is there anything like what's the biggest misnomer that if you mentioned this, like let's say you told a friend that you're swingers, what would be their biggest question or misnomer that surprises you that that's what they ask?
Well, so my best friend, I told her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I could never." And I said, "Well, why?" She's like, "Well, I'm too jealous." She said, "I would be too jealous." And I said, "And if you're a jealous person, then swinging probably isn't for you."
So I think we all have a little bit of jealousy in ourselves. What level do you think that how much jealousy is too much? How much? I mean, is that something that you feel like just a little bit? How? Because you don't know until you start, you know, thinking about it or doing it. What would advice would you give to someone that isn't fully sure that they can handle it or not?
Well, and I mean, if you're not fully sure, you can always, test the waters and just see what you're comfortable with. Some people just can't handle the thought of their husband or boyfriend doing anything else with another woman, and that's totally okay. I think just knowing like what kind of like what you want is a big thing, if that makes sense.
So, what is the biggest? And I think I know the answer because you've kind of talked about it. But what is two biggest factors that a couple should be aware of if they're thinking about swinging?
Make I think it's basically make sure everybody's on the same page in communication, and just making sure that like when something happens, you can't unsee it, and just make sure that you're prepared, you know, and make sure that that it's something that you both really want, and you're not doing something just to make your partner happy.
When you're talking to a couple for the first time, is there any time that you're talking just to the wife, like the wife and you are talking, and the husband and them are talking, how much are you giving advice to the wife? Like, I mean, like my concern, if I was a wife, you know, looking at you and those giant breasts, I might be a little bit envious of, my husband being used to smaller cup size and just being absolutely in love with your large chest. Do you do any kind of mentoring with the wife, talking, letting her kind of feel comfortable with you, or is your focus mainly talking to the husband once you get to know them? How does that work? Like, how do you kind of dial down any concerns that the wife might have about you, and that you're just a real person? Yeah, your breast might be big and great, but you're calming her nervousness of, in the end of the day, your husband's going to go home with you and you're going to go home with your husband. Is there any kind of mentoring or talking to the wife to make her feel more comfortable before her husband, starts exploring you?
Yeah, I think so. Like to chat with both the husband and the wife, and like I'll have two separate conversations going, like one with him and one with her. And that way I can see like where he's at and I can see where she's at without them being together, if that makes sense. Like she's not just saying what she thinks her husband wants to hear, you know? As long as I can get some kind of connection with her, I think that makes everything go smoother when we do meet, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, your bi, is that something that's important when you're looking for a couple? Have you had straight females that are like, hey, I want to dabble in it a little bit and find out what it's like? How does that,
Oh,
when you're doing a
absolutely.
search, go?
Yeah, so I since I am bi, like that's what we kind of look for is like bi females as well. But there's been plenty of girls that are bi curious, and I'm like, well, spaghetti noodles, they're straight until they get wet, and then, so I think I can turn you a little bit. And that's always fun too, just to see if I can get another woman turned on.
And is that part of it? I mean, I know there are some couples that aren't doing this I mean, like you said, with the younger men, you don't want to have someone that you have to train necessarily. When that comes to a woman being bi, are you comfortable being kind of the guinea pig where she may or may not like it or she may or may not try, but is that something that you're open to, the little kind of trial and error to
Oh,
put up with that?
absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you look for in a woman?
Just somebody that I can have a conversation with and, be flirty, but it not be awkward. That's kind of like what I look for, just like a bestie that I can, have fun with in the bedroom too.
And what is your go-to when you're with a woman? What are you drawn to sexually as far as doing to her or having done to you?
I mean, I like boobs too. So, I like that and just getting the feel of like if she's into me and I'm into her, and just kind of exploring each other. Like that's always fun.
And you don't lean towards the younger men. What about younger women? Does the same kind of rules apply to that?
Yeah, I think so.
So older women, well,
Yeah.
your age or older. Well,
Yeah.
Megan, thank you so much for coming on. We've talked before and we're talking again. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate hearing your story. I think these stories are important to hear from people's perspective that, it's fun and games for the most part, but a lot of communication goes into it. It's something that you enjoy. It helps your marriage. I think that's something that surprises a lot of people to hear someone say that it enhances their marriage. Your marriage is a good marriage and this just makes it better. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, and people that are curious about trying it, it helps to hear these stories. And so I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to keep on hearing more from you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.